Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're diving into something that is, honestly, completely unlike anything else on the planet. I mean, think about it. Every 4 years, literally billions of people across every single time zone just drop whatever they're doing to turn their attention to a month-long tournament. It's one of those incredibly rare times when everyday life, business, and politics just hit pause. There's this saying, for 1 month, the world speaks a single language: football. And man, that really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the absolute magic of this event. Cities just come alive. Stadiums don't just fill up, they become these insane cauldrons of energy that you can practically feel through your screen. And entire nations literally hold their collective breath with every single pass, every shot. But, that brings us to a super fascinating question. How on earth did a simple sporting competition turn into the single biggest event in the world? Because, spoiler alert, it definitely didn't happen overnight. Let's dig into the incredible multi-generational evolution of the FIFA World Cup. All right, let's start with the humble beginnings. So, rewind to the late 1920s. International football was blowing up so fast that FIFA realized, hey, we need a dedicated stage for the absolute best nations to battle it out for supremacy. That grand vision finally came to life in 1930 with the very first World Cup down in Uruguay. But what's really wild is just how intimate, almost small scale that first tournament was. It's a massive contrast to the multi-billion-dollar juggernaut we all tune into today. Just to put it in perspective, only 13 teams participated. 13! Getting around the world was no joke back then. A lot of the European teams had to endure these grueling, weeks-long boat trips across the Atlantic just to show up. Back in 1930, absolutely nobody could have possibly guessed that this tough-to-reach, scrappy little competition would snowball into a global phenomenon watched by billions. Which brings us to growing the global spectacle. Over the next few decades, the World Cup didn't just grow, it completely flipped the script on international sports. First off, you had way more countries fighting to get in, which instantly cranked up the global stakes. Naturally, the passionate fan bases grew right along with it. But the real game changer? Television. Once these matches started broadcasting, the event leaped out of local stadiums and smashed right into living rooms worldwide. Suddenly, regional heroes were becoming international superstars literally overnight. The growth trajectory here is just staggering. We started with Uruguay in 1930, one host nation, 13 squads. Fast forward to 2026, and we're looking at a beast of a tournament so massive that it actually takes 3 whole countries, the US, Canada, and Mexico, just to handle the sprawling roster of 48 participating teams. That is a colossal leap from those quiet early days. And because of that explosive growth and the absolutely agonizing competition it sparked across every single continent, just getting a ticket to the tournament is now a massive feat. I mean, for a lot of nations, surviving that brutal, multi-year qualification grind and just getting to hear their national anthem play on the World Cup stage, that is considered their absolute greatest achievement in the sport. Full stop. Now, let's talk about crowning football legends. You see, the World Cup is way more than just handing out a shiny gold trophy at the end of the month. It's a legend factory. It serves up this pure, unscripted drama that no Hollywood writer could ever dream up. We're talking about those frantic last-minute goals that change a nation's destiny in a literal fraction of a second. Insane underdog victories that absolutely shock the globe. And oh man, those agonizing, pin-drop silence penalty shootouts that leave millions of people either partying in the streets or just totally heartbroken. And you can literally watch this legacy build generation after generation. So many of the greatest players in history cemented their godlike status right here on this stage. First, you have Pelé, who basically became the game's ultimate global icon by doing the impossible and winning 3 World Cups. Then, the torch gets passed to Diego Maradona, who puts on that legendary, almost mythical solo performance back in '86. And then, finally, jumping to 2022, you get Lionel Messi completing his ultimate grueling journey by finally lifting that trophy. Every 4 years, a new hero emerges. Moving into arguably the most important part, uniting the world. Because at the end of the day, this whole phenomenon transcends what happens on the pitch. This tournament actually brings together wildly different cultures, religions, and languages. For just a few short weeks, the entire globe is strapped into the exact same emotional roller coaster. You've got families gathering around screens in the dead of night, complete strangers hugging in city squares, entire countries casting aside deep-seated political differences to rally behind one shared dream. Honestly, very few events in human history have that kind of unifying power. So what's the next chapter? Well, millions of fans are already counting down the days because the next tournament is shaping up to be an absolute milestone. Trying to wrap your head around the scale of this growth is just wild. Like we saw, from 13 teams way back in 1930, we eventually settled into a long, beloved era capped at 32 teams. But 2026? It skyrockets the format all the way up to 48 teams. This is going to be, without a doubt, the biggest sporting event ever held. For the very first time, handling a massive 48-team roster is going to require a truly continental canvas, spreading out across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And for us viewers, the math is pretty simple but incredibly exciting. More nations represented, a whole lot more matches to watch, and the absolute guarantee of even more unbelievable unscripted drama. So, to kind of bring it all together and summarize the legacy we've been talking about today, the FIFA World Cup is definitely not just a sports tournament. It's really humanity's greatest shared celebration of passion, fierce competition, and national pride. From those really quiet, scracky beginnings in Uruguay to the sprawling, massive global spectacle we have today, it just never stops capturing our collective imagination. Every 4 years, global history is quite literally written right before our eyes. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Who's going to write the next chapter? Which totally overlooked underdog is going to rise up and shock the world? And what new legend is about to be crowned? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If you enjoyed diving into this with me, make sure to hit subscribe for more stories and insights about sports, history, science, and the world's biggest events. Catch you next time.